I am here with Kelly Robinson. She is a freelance writer with a particular interest in silent films, horror, and lost films. Her articles have been nominated as Best of the Year several times in the Rondo Hatton Classic Awards. She is a recipient of the Horror Writers Association Rockywood Memorial Scholarship for Nonfiction Writing and is the host and founder of Nosferatu, an annual silent horror film event in Knoxville, Tennessee. Her article, First Lycanthrope, 1913's The Werewolf in Scary Monsters Magazine number 114, is the Horror Writer Association's finalist for the Stoker Award in the category of Superior Achievement in Short Nonfiction. Well, first of all, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for taking the time to be with us for these series of interviews. Where are you coming from? Where is this Skype interview reaching you today?
I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Well, that's not too far from me in Aiken, South Carolina. I hope that the spring is springing for you like it is up there. But more seriously, what are the restrictions in place for folks like you in the Knoxville area with regards to the pandemic and self-isolation and all that other good stuff that we're all dealing with?
My state has not yet mandated staying at home. So it's recommended, but they're being really kind of wishy-washy about it. So most smart people are staying at home anyway. My city and my neighborhood are really great, but at the state level, it's really inconsistent because there are pockets of people who are trying to stay in, and then there are people who are out throwing massive barbecues. So.
Yeah, that's a little similar. South Carolina has just clamped down and done the whole got to stay home except for the essential travel business, but at least people are off the beaches. I think people are really getting serious about, how important it is to keep the social distancing and flatten the curve, as they say. And what does that do for you? I mean, can you go to the grocery store? Can you go to the drugstore? I mean, do you get out of the house to do some essential errands, or are you kind of shut in your daily routine?
We're allowed to. I'm staying in personally, and it's easier for me than it is for a lot of people. I work from home anyway. Currently not working during the pandemic, but I'm used to being at home. I'm used to being at home alone, and I'm also a non-driver. So my world is fairly small anyway. I'm not used to being all over the place. So it's trickier than I thought it would be. I know I'm better equipped to deal with the isolation than some people who are used to working outside of the home, but at the same time, it finally hit me that I don't have my usual escapes. When I've been inside so long, I need to get out and go to a movie or go do something where there are people, and I don't have that option anymore. So it's finally hitting even me that things are very different.
And you've got company of 4 cats that, how are they dealing with the isolation and their daily routine?
They're cats. They're pretty blasé about it.
Yeah, but as you say, when the routine is not that different, cats don't mind that. I've heard people who are now at home much more often. The dogs and the cats are going, well, what the heck are the humans doing around here? This is normally my place for 6 hours of the day. But
Right.
it's funny, the other interviews that I've done with other horror writers, it seems that we all are quite similar. Those whose primary job is writing. We're at home a lot by the computer screen doing our research. Is that pretty much sum up your daily life, spending a lot of time in front of the screens and getting your creative mind together to come up with some of these amazing things that you write?
It certainly does. I think right now, since I don't currently have assignments, I just turned in a whole lot of things right at the beginning of this, and now I don't have work coming in. So I think sometimes the luxury of freedom can be more difficult than people think it's going to be. Like it's in some ways it's easier to get your writing done when you know you only have a few hours on the weekend to get it done. You will dedicate that time. When you have all
Right.
the time in the world, it's really easy to think, well, I'll do something else now and then get to it later. So I think it's extremely important when you have a lot of time to be extra vigilant about dedicating time to your writing.
And the distractions that we normally have nowadays with the news of either the economy or the virus getting closer to you and local changes, popping up on the screen. I've got to be very conscious of shutting all those things off when I'm trying to get into some writing space. How does that work for you? Are you easily distracted by all these things going on around you, or are you able to pretty much put your game face on and block out those other things?
I'm trying to only look at the news once a day. It's the World Health Organization recommends it currently for mental health, and I'm following those guidelines. So I'm very much a rules follower during this whole thing. Oh, cat fight.
That's good. We need a little color here. This is horror writers after all.
Somebody tried to jump onto somebody else's space.
No, but no bloodshed though yet, right?
No. What was I saying? Oh, that I'm following the World Health Organization guidelines for not being stressed during difficult times. So, and one of their recommendations is not watching too much news, staying informed, but not watching it constantly, because it really is,
which is easy to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk werewolves. Something a little bit up my alley, but I want to know more about the article that you have been nominated for. Film's First Lycanthrope, 1913's The Werewolf in Scary Monsters Magazine 114. Tell us about where the idea came for the article. What's your love of werewolves and these horror films, short films? So give us that sort of background, and certainly plug your product, because you've been nominated for a Stoker Award and you deserve the limelight.
Thank you. Well, it's not as much a love of werewolves, even though werewolves are plenty cool. For me, it's my love for lost films and lost silent films. And I've been working on a book for an embarrassing number of years about lost horror films specifically. And it's a particular passion of mine, the idea that there were films that were made that were popular in their time, attended by lots of people, reviewed just like any other movie, but they're gone. We can't see them anymore. The original reels were burnt in fires, or in some cases intentionally destroyed. And to me, it's just such a devastating loss, because we've lost not just that film and the ability to see it, but with each film that's lost, we also lose its potential for influence, if that makes sense. With the werewolf, the 1913 werewolf film in particular, if it had stayed around in order to be circulated or put out on videotape back in the day or shown on television, it would have become part of our public consciousness and become part of werewolf mythology as we know it. Sure. So we've lost the influence that it might have had. And in the case of this film in particular, it's what I really love to talk about, because it was the first werewolf film ever made, and the werewolf in it is a woman. So a lot of people do not realize that film's first werewolf was not only a woman, but a Native American woman who shapeshifted into a wolf to fight off invading white settlers. And also to exact a bloody revenge on one man in particular. But I imagine if that film had stayed around and how we might treat our idea of the classic werewolf differently than we do.
Yeah, it would have been up there with, the first vampire movie didn't come out until, the 20s. And so you would have had,
I hate to correct you, but that's actually not true. There are lost vampire movies. Several. There's a 1913 British film called The Vampire that's a lost film, and it's a woman who, she's actually a shapeshifter too. She shapeshifts into a snake. but that's one that people don't talk about. And that's the thing that gets me about these lost films is they're just it's as if they were never made. They're glossed over in film history books.
Well,
You know,
obviously, to me, they have, and I'm thankful for your education. This is great. Yeah, carry on. So, where do people find this article? Tell me a little bit about the magazine that it's in, and where can people find the magazine so they can read it. I'm certainly going to go and start looking at this to get better informed myself.
This article in particular is in Scary Monsters magazine, issue number 114. It's from several, I think it was from last fall. So ordinarily you can buy Scary Monsters on the newsstand. It's available by subscription. Obviously, it's not still on the newsstand, but you can order back issues on the website. Scary Monsters is on Facebook, so they're easy to find, and you can find ordering information pretty easily.
I think I saw it on mymoviemonsters.com earlier, a little bit earlier when I was getting ready for the interview. Another source where people can see the reviews and also order them as well.
And subscribe. And actually, right now, their upcoming issue, their April issue, which is I can't remember what they're calling it, but it's essentially plant horror movies is the theme. Hideous horticultural horrors, I think they're calling it. It has been delayed because of the pandemic. The issues were printed, but the factory closed down before they were bound. But in order to deal with that, they're actually offering a deal where if you pre-order the issue, you will get the print magazine when it arrives, when it's completed. But in April, when the issue, gosh, why is this confusing me? I'm not the publisher of Scary Monsters, so they're offering a deal where if you pre-order that print issue, you will also get a free digital copy of the issue while you're waiting for the print copy. So if people want to do that, and I do have an article in that issue as well.
Oh, good. What's the substance of that article?
This article is on the Japanese film Matango, which is also known as Attack of the Mushroom People, and my article is called Hell is Other Mushroom People, Social Decay and Matango.
Another question then, stemming from your nomination. Would you have been heading over to Scarborough to bask in the glory of your nomination and be able to be there in person amongst all your fellow Horror Writers Association and stand in line for that big banquet when the awards are named? Was that something you would have been doing?
But I was not going to be able to attend. So I feel bad for all the people who were planning on going, but I was not among them. It's you can't anticipate that you're going to be a finalist. So finding out that I was a finalist for the Stoker when I did was really not enough time for me to plan to make the trip. I don't have a current passport to begin with, so it wasn't going to be possible for me to do.
But the good news is the awards will be streamed on April 18th, so we'll all be able to see it around the world. Obviously, nobody's going to be there in person. Hopefully, they're looking at rescheduling the event. Right now, they're talking sometime in August, but at least we'll all be able to see the event on the 18th. One more thing then is it sounds like this isolation hasn't changed a whole lot in your life, so this question may not be pertinent, but I normally ask the other writers, have you found a silver lining in this isolation? Is there anything that you've done differently that it's like, oh, this is pretty cool, maybe I'll do this more often? Is anything changed in your life in a positive way because of this horrible pandemic and what it's caused you to shift in your life?
I think the silver lining, I think there are a couple in general. One of them is that people are reading more. There are a lot of people with more time on their hands, and I'm seeing so many people talk about what they're reading or what can people recommend. And so there a lot of people who maybe weren't reading as much are rediscovering it, and that's fantastic. I think another thing, as someone who is at home a lot and deals sometimes with depression, and a lot of people do, I think if you're somebody who tends to sometimes feel lonely, it's helpful right now to know that everybody is feeling that. We're kind of not alone in our loneliness, if that makes sense. So to anybody who feels like this isolation is really crushing in on them, just know we're kind of all in this together right now. So.
That's a good point. Well, I thank you for your time, Kelly. I know this wasn't easy to organize, and thankfully our Skype worked the second time round. So thank you for your time. Good luck with the Stoker Awards in April 18th, and I am certainly going to be paying a little more attention to Scary Monsters magazines, because I want to learn more about these early vampire films that I did not know about until you mentioned them. So thank you so much for the information. Great chatting with you, and have a great day.
Thank you.